So this oddest word in biology. So do you know any? We know like technical terms or scientific terms are difficult for the children, right? Here I have found hardest word in biology. So let me reveal that this is the hardest word in biology, and it is a respiratory disease actually. Okay, when the quartz and the dust particles, when the when the ashes are released, when this quartz or silica dust particles gets into the respiratory system, we prone to a respiratory disease, which is called as this one. This is pneumono ultra microscopic silico volcanoconiosis. So this is the hardest and the longest word in biology, just for the information pieces. That's it. So I just found it very interesting. So I just want to share this. I hope it's interesting to you also.
Yes,
Fine.
ma'am.
Now, shall I
Longest
just move
word
on?
in English, ma'am.
Yes, ma.
It is the longest word in English alphabet. That is a vocabulary.
English also. Yes, yes, yes. It's the longest in dictionary. Also, you can see it. It's the longest word also. Okay, fine. So now, actually, we are just moving on into our session. Today, we'll be talking much about the teaching methodologies. So before going into teaching methodologies, I just want to bridge the gap between the learning theories and practical implementation. What do we mean by this? So we know that in B.Ed, we would have learned many learning theories, right? So like many multiple intelligence and Skinner, Paulo's theory, and social behavioral theory, many theories we have learned. But how that helps us, how that actually helps us in the real practical implementation. So actually, we are really doing it without knowing it. That's what as like Amazon one ad comes. No, actually you have it, but you don't know it. Similar to that, actually we are doing it without knowing it. We are applying it. So actually we have three main learning theories which can be just put into three sockets. One is behaviorism. All the learning theories are just classified under these three pillars. That is behaviorism, cognitivism, and constructivism. So behaviorism is nothing but whenever a child do something good in the class, you are appreciating it. Whenever child goes wrong, so you are giving some constructive feedback to a child that he or she should not repeat it. So that is what the learning theory we are applying in the classroom. So that comes under the behaviorism. And cognitivism is nothing but whatever we are teaching in the classroom. So the lecture methods or the teaching methodologies, whatever we are teaching in the classroom, so this is the learner process. He or she receives the information and understand it and connects it with the already known information within his memory. So that is the cognitivism. So what we are doing is teaching part. Then what do we mean by constructivism? This constructivist approach has gained a lot of attention. Why? So even NCRT is focusing on concept-based learning, right? Concept-based education. So skill-based education. So constructivism has all activities, all learning activities that helps the individual to learn. So all the experiences, all the knowledge, whatever the student gains in the classroom through activity, through hands-on experience, all that comes under constructivism. So why I have taken this? So before going into maybe a little bit later, I will just ask the question. So now, how this educational theories actually influence the learning? So we have learned lots of theories during our BA. So how it actually helps us during the teaching and learning process? One is that it makes the students to be in a comfortable classroom. Unless you are applying a perfect learning theories in the classroom won't be perfect and it won't have a proper structure. So that's what we discussed. Why do we need to plan a session? Okay, there only we'll be thinking about we'll be putting all the learning theories into it, and we will make our sessions very effective only if you know the theories, learning theories, or if only if you have experience, you can do it. Otherwise, we can't do it. So we are providing them students comfortable environment. Next is it helps the educators, even students, parents to align with the goals and the learning outcomes, whatever we are framing. And then it empowers the teachers. So how it empowers the teachers? It helps the teachers to know which teaching methodology best suits for this lesson, or which teaching methodology best suits for this group of students. So all that can be known only all that is because of this educational theories. And then we'll be having a perfect impact of how and what a person learns. So what a person has to learn, we'll be designing using the learning objectives, learning outcomes, but how it has to happen, that is through the teaching methodology. Next, it also helps outsiders. If someone is coming, they will be knowing, okay, this is the this is how the teacher takes the content to the classroom. So it helps them to understand what the students are actually receiving, what kind of education they are actually receiving. Then it will allow us to manage the classroom in a better way, and it will also help us to know for which topic I should go for the teacher-led instruction. For which topic I should choose the student-led instruction. So we have to decide the teaching methodology. How I can decide the teaching methodology unless I have a proper knowledge about the teaching methodology, different learning styles of the students, I can't make my lesson so effective. For all that, these educational theories and learning theories help. Then I should be in a position to know how much of activity I can input. Say, for example, I just want my students to get involved in my class. For that, for the whole 45 periods, I can't make them to involve in a particular activity. So children will be enjoying it daily. If you're going and conducting activity and you are playing with the students, definitely they will enjoy. But whether the transactions will be effective, whether the content will be transacted effectively, so that's the question mark. So these theories will help us to know where to make the children collaborate in the classroom. Say, for example, when you're taking a lecture method, when you're teaching some important concepts, when you can see that the students are not really in touch with you, they are not really in connect with you, they are somewhere lost. So these theories will help us to know, to understand the span of attention has been gone. So now you have to switch your mode. You can't continuously talk another, say for example, in 15 minutes, if they are just attain the boredom, you can't continue talking again for another half an hour. So that gives us a clue that we have to focus on some other activities. It can be a small ice-breaking activity. It doesn't mean that always you have to go for the subject-oriented activity. So I will also give you some more tips when it comes to teaching methodologies, how we can conduct certain activities in the classroom. Fine. So this is in general how it helps the learning in classroom. So in reality, how it works. So in classrooms, whatever we are using, as I told you, so we are using some questions. You will be asking some open-ended questions. You will ask the students to summarize. You will ask the students to take notes, or you may ask them to make the concept map, or on the board you may give the flow chart. So all these are the implementation of cognitivism theory in the classroom. So yes, no teachers, we all do this. Yes or no? We are all doing this in the classroom when we are teaching a concept. Yes. So we are applying this cognitive theory in the classroom. Behaviorism, as I already told you. Say for example, there is one maybe in classic we have acclimatization concept. So that concept itself looks very complicated. Okay. So what we used to do, we will be asking them to read it in a repetition mode, and if they are attaining until they attain the mastery level, mastery learning, we just ask them to repeat the task. You may either conduct. So how do we give them practice? Say for example, we know that particular portion of the lesson is very difficult, and you know very well that more questions comes from that. So how do? We used to give them lots of tests. You will be giving them like assignments, right? So we will give them small tasks so that they will attain mastery in their learning. So that is how we incorporate behaviorism in the classroom. So now comes the broadest part of it, that is the constructivism. So constructivism has 5 major concepts. So that is, this is what constructivism 5E model. Actually, this 5E model best suits for science. It is not like physics, chemistry, or bio. It best suits for the science subject. Okay, and this can also be extended to other subjects also, because every teacher wants this has to happen in the classroom. The teacher wants the child to be engaged in the classroom. and we want the students to explore themselves, and we will be explaining certain concepts, and we want them to do some hands-on activity to elaborate the concepts whatever they are understood, and we will be evaluating. So this will be the core thing that happens in the teaching learning process. So constructivism has these 5 core things. So let us move on to one by one what we are actually means by these stages. So here I have just given the whole gist of what is this 5E model. So I'll be discussing one by one, and I will be also discussing what the teacher really has to do during engage, what the students will be doing. So that will give you more clarity. Say for example, when we say engage, what we really do. Say for example, we do motivation. When I just want to introduce the lesson, I use some kind of stories, I use kind of some images, I may give them some open-ended questions. Okay, so I will introduce my lesson. So why do we do all these things? To create interest among the students, even though we very well know that the child very well knows that I am going to take only this lesson today. But even though we motivate them, we will just start introduce our sessions with some kind of motivation. We'll make the students to engage in the discussion. So what we are actually trying to do when we do for engage, we create interest, we create some kind of curiosity, and we raise some questions, open-ended questions, and we try to elicit responses. So we know that even in our B.Ed we have done that. So when we are doing, until we get that core point of the lesson, we'll be keep on asking questions. Yes, and all the questions will be open-ended questions. Why we need to frame open-ended questions, teachers? Why we need to frame open-ended questions?
Mom, they will have a different point of view, Mom.
Different point.
Point of
Okay.
view.
What
And
else
then
can
to
we?
not to discourage them with the answers.
That is the main motive of the open-ended question. Open-ended question doesn't have any right answer. So whatever answer the students are giving, all that comes as the right answer. So that without any discouragement, they will be answering and they will be participating in the class. So that is the main motive. And that's the reason whenever we are motivating the children, whenever you try to engage, we have to ask open-ended questions. That is a very, very important to elicit responses that answer what the students actually know. So unless you know what the child already knows, and as I again told you, don't go for any judgment. Always please don't go with the judgment process. You don't think that the child will know this. Don't think that the child doesn't engage, then you will be knowing, okay, whether they have learned this concept in the previous class or not. Okay, whether this is new to them. So how do I actually make it very interesting? All that can be known through this engage. So what does actually do to happen? Okay, what do I already know about this? What have I found about this? They show interest in the topic when we are engaging them. So this is the basic step. Next is explore. So what they are going to explore. So now we have introduced the topic. Okay, we have engaged them. So hardly it takes some 5 to 10 minutes. Then we will be asking them. We will encourage the students to work together. So what we can do, we can ask them to observe, or you can ask them to listen. Say for example, fundamental. Okay, so if I'm just going to teach fundamental of life, what I can do, whatever they have learned in the previous classes. Okay, so I can ask them to, they know about the cell structure, they know about the mitochondria or nucleus, the basic things they know. So I can ask them to come and draw a nucleus on the board, or mitochondria on the board, or any one cell organelle on the board. So if you're asking them, whenever you're introducing something, you just give them as a group activity. Make one column as one group. So how many cell organelles they can draw on the board, that team gets more marks. So that makes them more interested. And it is not that if I am not doing, so I'll be left alone. It's not like that. So when it comes to a team, okay, so if I don't know also, my friends will motivate me. Yes, you go and draw this. At least you draw the ribosome. Okay, at least you just draw the Golgi apparatus. I will tell you how it will be. So that will, if the person don't know also, the child will learn from the peers. So that is very important. Then ask probing questions. We have to ask them questions. So that we can redirect them. See, they know already about the mitochondria. So I can't again tell that mitochondria is powerhouse of cell and this is what it will do. So I can't do that. So what I will be doing, I'll be probing questions. So I'll be trying to act like a flipped classroom. I'll be probing questions, okay, and they will be answering. So I know that in the previous class how much they know. So until I reach all the concepts, I'll be just probing the questions, and it can be through some kind of puzzles also. So what is happening for the students? They think freely. There is no limit for them. Okay. There is no, you won't be testing them. You won't be giving them, okay, you are right, you are wrong. They will try alternative. Say, for example, if I'm asking where the respiration takes place or where the photosynthesis takes place, if the child goes wrong also, here we are not going to discourage them. Oh, okay, you are wrong. See, so please don't. No. If she or he is wrong, the other person in the team can answer. So here, if the child is wrong also, he or she won't be discouraged. So it goes like a teamwork. So they will try alternatives and they will discuss. Okay, so these things, and they can also give some judgment if you are giving any statements. So you can just ask, mitochondria is the power of the cell. Why? Justify the statement. So they would have already learned all these things. So they will be exploring. It's just nothing, but we are just trying to recall and recognize what they have learned in the previous classroom. So what is the role of the teacher here? The teacher has to probe questions and allow the students to work in team. Am I okay, teachers? Shall I proceed?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
yes, ma'am.
So next comes explain. So here the main part, main role played by the teachers. So we'll be giving them lots of definitions, explanations. We will be demonstrating. Okay. So you'll be explaining certain concepts. So they know about the nucleus, what they have already learned. So we'll be extending other additional functions, what is there. So you are just adding some more information, giving clarity of the concept. So that is totally done by the teacher here. So here the students will be just listening and observing, gathering things, okay, and they can refer to previous activities or previous things, whatever they have learned in the previous lower classes. So all these things happens in the explain part. Next comes elaborate. So what do we mean by elaborate? Just the application point. So we have just taught them all the definitions, all the explanations, everything you have done. So now in elaborate part, you will allow the child to apply whatever they have learned. We can conduct some activity, you can conduct some quiz or puzzles, what they already know, what they are, they have learned newly in this class. Say for example, some technical terms, you can ask them to spell the technical terms, or you can give the you can just tell the definition and you can ask them to say what is it, instead of just asking the definition, define osmosis. Instead of that, you give the definition, because whenever they are learning for the first time, just don't throw up questions just like define. When you are just testing for the first time, better you give the statement and you ask what is it. So first let them understand the definition. So they'll be applying the definitions in various places through activities, through quiz or through games. It can be done. So that is the elaborate part. Now comes the evaluate. So whatever the child has learned. So now it's time for us to assess the student's knowledge or skills. Whether what kind of changes you are expecting. Suppose I want the child to know about, say for example, carbon dioxide is essential for photosynthesis. Okay. So they know the carbon dioxide is essential. So they would have learned from lower classes for photosynthesis, carbon dioxide is being taken. So we are showing some experiment and you are explaining if KOH is there, KOH will absorb the carbon dioxide. So no photosynthesis takes place. So now you will be asking questions. What is the role of KOH? So always ask open-ended questions. So why do you think in that way? What do you think about this experiment? What conclusion you can come about this? So just always ask open-ended questions whenever it comes for the first time. Like evaluating, testing and giving marks for the exam point of view or conducting clip test, that is different. But whenever in class, when you are evaluating the child, the learning process, kindly ask open-ended questions. So first you have to give them confidence. Yes, you can answer. If you answer, if you just give me the wrong answer also, nothing going to happen. So you can just open up. So that confidence you have to give to each and every child that is present in the classroom. So that is very important. So this is the 5 core theme of the constructivist approach, and that is the reason why I have taken, because whatever methodologies, if you are using 3 combinations of the teaching methodologies, anyway, we'll be revolving around this one. I just want to engage, similarly, I just want to evaluate the child's learning process. Is it or not? Am I right, teacher? Yes?
Yes,
Our
ma'am.
mode or our main
Yes, ma'am.
motive will be this only. So it is a combination of teaching methodology. So I'm not just going to talk about student-centered teaching methodology. No. Okay. So we have various teaching methodologies and we can use in various combinations. But our main concern will be these 5 E's. So that is why I have taken this 5E model of constructivism. Next, one example I have taken. So how can I use this 5E model in real example, real scenario? So I'm just giving some example. You have to do this, you have to do this. So students will be doing this. So how a teacher can actually implement it in the real classroom? Say, for example, if you take heredity lesson, class 10 heredity lesson. Say, I can ask the students first to observe their earlobes and whether I can just ask them to roll their tongue, whether they can do it or not. I can ask each and everyone to touch their hair texture. So first, what I will be doing, I will be asking each and everyone to observe. Even you can ask them to observe their nails. Each one nail will be different. Shapes will be different. Some will be having broad nails. Some will be having short nails. So you can ask them to observe the fingernails. Whichever is possible for the students to observe, we can ask the students to observe each and every peer members or who is sitting next to the students. You can ask them to first observe. So they will be observing. So now let us ask, why is it different? Why he is having different kind of earlobes? Why you are having different kind of earlobes? Why he can roll his tongue? Why can't you do it? Okay. So they will get first curiosity. Why it's not happening? Why I can't roll my tongue? Why my hair is curly? Why my hair is not straight? So you can raise questions. So they will also develop more curiosity to know why this is actually in this way. Now what we can do is we can explore. So other contrasting triads, you ask them to observe, just give it as a task. Okay, ask them to make one tabular column and observe certain some specific. Say, for example, again the hair texture, hair, whether it is straight hair or curly hair, how it was, at the color of the hair, you can just ask them to make one tabular column and observe among their family members, and they can bring it. So that is, they are exploring something. They are also observing certain other contrasting triads. Now what comes as a major part? So here we'll be introducing about variations. We'll be talking about the variations, why variation is very important, and we'll be talking about the basics of the inherited and the acquired triad. So it is all inherited from the parents. So you just give them the concept. Okay, it is inherited from your parents. So you just go and check the earlobes of your parents, of whose earlobes you got, whether of your mother or of your father, or whether yours is unique. Even mother is not having, father is not having. So just come back with the observation. So let them observe and come back, and we will be just again explaining them in detail. Why is it so? What is this inherited trait? So why it was not so? Next is we have to explain what factors are responsible for this trait? Why is it different? So how is this being inherited? So will be factors are nothing but the genes. So we'll be talking about the genes and the proteins, how the triads are expressed, how it is being controlled. So all this theoretical explanation will be giving. And then, so now explaining factors, you'll be explaining about all these factors, gene, how it is being inherited, and then you will be teaching about the monohybrid basics and dihybrid cross basics. Now in elaborate, you conduct color ball games. So it doesn't mean that you have to take say, for example, dihybrid means first, before going with the dihybrid, you go for the monohybrid cross. You take 2 different color balls. Okay, 2 different color balls you take. and you just tell them this is dominant and this is recessive. That clarity you have to give. So when you are explaining, you have to explain all these concepts. So I'll be touching, when I'm touching the hot spots, like as you asked how to go about with the heredity topic, I just touched all that. So I'll be discussing that little bit later. Okay, so you can conduct some games so that they'll be elaborating. So we know very well in heredity lesson. So we have the round wrinkled, so round yellow. Okay, so these two different triads have been contrasting triads have been taken, and it's been given in the textbook. You give them some other combination of the triads, ask them to work out. So that is the elaborate part. So the numericals, whatever we are working out in the classroom, all that comes as a part of the elaborate. So they will be understanding the concept, applying the same concept in the other numericals. Yes, teachers? That is the elaborate part. Then finally, we'll be testing the understanding of the concept. You can ask them to define certain things, or you can give the definition. You can just ask them to fill it. What is it? Okay. So what is the enzymes? And you can ask them how the triads have been expressed, or you can just give them a flow chart and just ask them what a triad will be expressed in the F1 offspring, what characters will be expressed in the F2 generation, or what are the gametes that is formed, or what is the genotypic ratio, phenotypic ratio. So like that, we can test the understanding of the concept. So this is how in heredity lesson, we can just include the 5E model. Okay, teachers, shall I proceed?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So now it's time to engage ourselves. Okay. So usually what I will be doing, so that I just want to share certain tips to you. So what we can do, I'll just stop sharing just a minute. Okay. So how many of you will be using activities in between the classroom? In between, like if you feel like, okay, your child has lost, say for example, especially heredity lesson, and heredity lesson only mainly, and control and coordination also, it's all concept oriented. And even in class 9, if you go for diversity lesson and tissues lesson, so tissues lessons until plant, they will be understanding. When it comes to animal tissues, no, it's like overloaded to them. So when we are teaching for some time, you can see they will be just staring us like that. Yes, so we'll be knowing that definitely nothing goes into their mind. So that time again, is it wise idea for me to conduct quiz that time? Okay, you are all lost, so you're just looking blank. So let me just conduct one quiz. Whatever we have learned in the previous class, let me ask some questions. Shall we do that? Is it wise idea to do it? No, because the child has already lost the interest. Okay, they were somewhere, and if you ask immediately, if you just stop your session and if you just look at them and give a break, they will understand that you have understood they have lost. They will give you a smile that you have found out that they have been lost and they were blank. So kindly conduct some small ice breaking activities. Okay. So what I will be doing in my session is when I see that my children has lost. Okay. So if I have enough time, and if it is like only few girls, or this is my girls' school, so if few students lost the interest, then what I will be doing, first thing is ask everyone to just have a break, just ask them to take some water. Okay, and then I'll be asking them, when I say class, they have to reply me yes. So even in between the sessions, so that is the thumb rule I will be sharing to my all the classes, whichever classes I'm handling. The first session itself, in the beginning of the academic year itself, I'll be telling them, I just give it as a warm-up activity. When I say class, they have to say yes. So in whatever mode I say, they have to say it. So first time and all, they will enjoy and they will nicely reply it. So what I'll be doing, whenever I feel like they are lost, immediately I will use this strategy. As like I'm teaching, suddenly if I say class, it will take some time for them to realize that I'm using the term class and they have to reply yes. So few girls alone will be replied. And again, I will be repeating class. Then they will come into the core theme and everyone started replying. Then I will be using different modulations. Say, for example, when I say class, they have to say yes. Class means how many times I'm repeating, they have to repeat at the same time. So I will just say class, they will say yes. Class, yes. Class, they will say yes. And suddenly I will change the modulation, say class, because they are in sleepy mode. So I used to say class, they also repeat in the same way. And then slowly I will say class, I will whisper, they will also whisper. So that will motivate their brain and they will be back to the session. So that is one small strategy. I usually do it in my class. That's too, especially when diversity lesson comes and the heredity lesson comes. I can very well see the children will lost the connectivity because it's all overloaded. They have not learned all these things. Diversity living also very new to them. So they are coming across many terms. They have not seen many animals. That is again here in Chennai and all, it's different scenario. So they'll be, unless they know certain things, they will be easily lost the connectivity. So it is in our hand. So you have to identify that they lost the interest and you have to get them back and then please proceed the lesson. Okay. So maybe after some time I will share one more strategy which I will be using in the session. Okay. So now we'll be back to the session. Yeah. So when it comes to heredity lessons, always, not only heredity lessons, whenever we are teaching them, always take them from known to unknown, whatever the lesson it might be. Say, for example, how do organisms reproduce? Okay, you just ask them to sit quietly, close their eyes, listen to the surroundings. Just check how many of them are able to listen to their heartbeat. How many of them are able to listen to other sounds that is there in their surroundings. So always take them from the known to the unknown concepts. Okay, because all the lessons, like even in diversity lessons, if you see, you can ask them to list the number of animals, plants they have seen. Ask them to group it in whatever way they want, and ask them whether everyone has done in the same way. No, they have not done in the same way. Everyone would have done in different way. So that is the reason why we have the 5 kingdom classification. So we are following in common. So everywhere it is the same. It is the same. Monira means all the Monira is grouped into this category. So that will give them more clarity, and just like starting the session, just giving them, okay, this is what diversity in living organisms. These are the organisms put into Monira. Instead of doing that, give them some basic idea. So always start with known to unknown concepts. Say for heredity lesson, you talk about variation, importance of variation, and then take them how this variation happens actually. It is because of the recombination of the DNA, what the DNA has, how different characters are being expressed, why my eyes are different, your eyes are different, why my earlobe is different and yours are different. Just ask them, probe them questions. So that will give them a comfortable zone. They will be very comfortable. Then you introduce the new concept. So these characters, these are called as triads. Just introduce the terms. So always take them from known to unknown. Next is, before going into the whole lesson, always it's better to give them this. Okay, heredity lesson means this is what you have in this lesson. This is what we will be learning in this lesson. So give them the whole lesson view or overall view we have to give. Say for example, in today's session, if as how I'm telling, no. So in today's session, we'll be discussing all this. So that will make each and everyone's mind set for the session. Similarly, in the classroom also, whenever you are introducing the lesson, you just first tell them. Say for example, how do organisms reproduce? You just tell them we'll be talking about the reproduction. We'll be talking about the sexual reproductions and the asexual reproduction. So we'll be talking about sexual reproduction in plants and other organisms, and we'll be talking about sexual reproduction in humans. So first you give the clear-cut view, whole view about the lesson, and then go for the part. Okay, so that is very, very important in all the lessons. It is not only for heredity, it is common for all the lessons. So here, first you talk about what is heredity, why we need to learn about it, what is the importance of it. So first tell them that, and then you introduce the concept. First, triad. What is triad? That is the general term. Just talk them about the triad, and then you go for what do we mean by inherited and the acquired trait. Then how this triad, how these characters are inherited. How do I get the earlobe of my mother? How do I get the hair texture of my father? So give them lot of real life examples, and then take them to each and every part of the lesson. So these two is like setting the stage. They will be feeling very comfortable. They won't be afraid of the lesson, because heredity is something new. They have not learned in their lower classes. So they are learning in class 10, and they feel itself as a very complicated lesson, but it's not so. You give them that comfortability. Unless you give it, the children will feel it very difficult. So you have to give them. Next. Okay. How can we proceed from next is first tell about simple concepts. Then go for the complex concepts. So for example, when I just want to talk about tissues lesson, they know what is tissue. Yes or no, ma'am? They have learned in the lower classes till 8th standard, they are learning what is tissue. First, tell them what is tissue. Okay, and then talk about the energy requirement of the plants and energy requirement of the animals. Then you talk about unicellular, multicellular. So these are all simple for them because they know it already. This is all known concept. When I say unicellular, multicellular, immediately they will give the answer what is unicellular, what is multicellular. And then ask why the multicellular organism has many different organs. You ask them division of labor, they will come out with a very good answer. So now we have just taught them all the simple concepts. Then you take them to the complex concepts, saying in plants we have different set of tissues, in animals we have different set of tissues. So each one has its own function. So based on its function, based on its location, we call them as these terms. We use these terms. Then you say what is meristematic, you say what is maybe permanent tissues in that simple and then complex. Okay, so you give this idea. So always go from simple to complex. So here, when I just put Mendels contribution, when we are talking about Mendels contribution, first thing is the teaching methodology or pedagogy. What you have to use here is storytelling. Okay, don't just read out or don't just say whatever there just in the textbook. Don't do it. Okay, some one paragraph about Mendels contribution is given in our textbook as in the factual box. That they can learn on their own. Okay, what they are really in need. So we have to make it very simple. Tell them as a story. And you move from particular to always general. You give some specific example. Okay, say for example, if they want to understand about the allele, okay, when you are talking about monohybrid, why do we write capital T, capital T? So that is the pair of genes, that is the allele. You give them some specific example and then go for general. So in monohybrid, if you are giving some specific examples representing capital T, they can apply the same in dihybrid cross. So always whenever it comes to certain concepts, give some specific example in real life example also. So they will be understanding it in a much better and easy way. So here, when we talk about Mendels contribution, so use lot of, what to say, it should be like a story. You just ask them. See, and one more thing, as I already told you, you should allot some characters. Definitely, children used to ask, no, ma'am, why he has done all these experiments? So before the student asks these questions, you ask the student, why he has done that? Okay, is everyone is busy in other world? Why he has done this kind of experiments? Why do we call him as a father of genetics? You just tell them he is the one who introduced the term gene. So initially it was called as factors. So he referred it as a factors. So all this information, if you give, it will be very, very interesting to them. And one more most important thing, what I will be doing in my class, whenever I just start taking the class, I will just tell them to close the textbook and I will ask them to listen to me first. They should listen as if they are just sitting in a theater. It should be like a movie show, then only it will be interesting. Whenever you are teaching, if they are underlining something in the textbook and if they are just doing something in the textbook, they will miss out certain concepts what we are teaching. So it is always, maybe in physics and chemistry, it's different, but in biology, you can very well ask them to close the textbook and just ask them to listen to you. So that much interest you have to create. So Mendel's contribution mainly, don't just say Mendel has taken this garden pea plant and he has done all these things and he has absorbed monohybrid and he said the recessive triad, dominant triad. Don't dump them with the concepts alone. So kindly tells it as a story. And maybe if you're really in need of it, I think Khan's Academy video is really good in this Mendel's contribution concept. And it again goes as like a story. So you can refer that video and you can get more insight on it, and you can just transact the same in the classroom also. So first give them why he has chosen the pea plant, why not the other plant. So there you will be talking the advantage of the pea plant. So it is a dioecious plant, and then it's self-pollination and the cross-pollination. Saranya, yes ma'am, Saranya ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, can we able to suggest the YouTube links for students also, ma'am, when we are discussing
No,
as
that
for
is
a
not a
reference,
good
ma'am?
idea, ma'am.
Okay, ma'am.
Don't do it. No, ma'am, don't do it, ma'am. You refer, ma'am,
Okay.
and you make it interesting and you transact in the class, ma'am.
Okay.
So that will help, ma'am. But if you just ask them to go through the video, no, they will lost interest.
Okay.
In certain places, you can say, but that is always better. You can show, ma'am. If it is possible, you
Okay.
can show them the video, but don't ask
Okay.
them to, don't give them link and don't ask them to do it, ma'am. Okay.
Okay.
So here again, I have some, see, these are the things you give cities and all. I just collected from the net. So this is how we need to make it very interesting. So blending. So you can see mom and dad, and you can see the offspring. So usually Mendel has taken the tall and the dwarf plant. Same thing you can just do with the dog example. So you can draw some cartoonistic or simple dog diagram, or some stick kind of things, or something else, whichever is, or you can draw some human representation using stick we used to do, no? So even that you can do. So whichever is convenient for you, you do it. Say for example, if I just want to show the father is very tall, I can show simple diagram, and mother is somewhat short. Instead of plant, you give them some real examples. And you can see the offspring is somewhat intermediate between these two. So how come this happens? So even Mendel observed all these triads, and even he got a question. So he wanted to find out. So he did all these experiments. So no one has just got this point. As like Newton has seen when the apple falls, he started experimenting. Similarly, when Mendel observed certain triads, he started exploring. He started testing. So when he was working on the plants, he found garden pea plant as the best. And why? Because it can be self-pollinated, it can be cross-pollinated, and the duration. Say for example, if the plant is going to take 40 years to give the flowers, is it possible for him to observe all the triads? You ask questions to the students. So that will make them to understand, okay, so that is the reason why he has taken the pea plant. And if possible, show them the pea plant pod. If not available in hand, at least show them some image. Some might have seen the normal patani we used to get, no? So some of them have been normally seen, some of them have not seen. So if the pod is not available, you can take the dry peas and you can show them the yellow one and the green one. So wherever possible, you show them visually so that they will be understanding it in a much better way. So here you can see the acquired tribe. So you just ask example here. Example of a giraffe. So giraffe, if a giraffe is stretching her neck, reaching for the leaves, is that the next generation will have a longer neck? No. So why it is not being inherited? Then you give the difference between the inherited and acquired trait. So apart from the things that is given in our textbook, when it comes to heredity lesson, about Mendel's contribution, you have to talk too much. Don't just say Mendel has taken this tree plant, he has observed this contrasting triad, so he has worked out the monohybrid, dihybrid. Please don't go with that, teachers. Again, that's the reason why they find it very difficult. And you just tell them, when you go with the, and again, this is some example which I've drawn. So why this is happening? And again, you can see here, okay, he has got my nose and ears. That means the nose and ears of a father, but he got hair of the mother. But both are short. You can see, but the son is tall. So why is it so? You are both are short, but he just grown up like a giraffe. So just put these kind of cartoonistic things. If you couldn't show visually, okay, if you don't have net access, it's okay. You can draw simple diagrams on the board as I have just shown you. Just give them some idea. so that they will understand it much better way. And whenever you are talking about the contrasting triads, provide all the 7 contrasting triads to them and explain them what are they. Say what are the things he worked on. He worked on pot color, pot shape, seed color, seed coat, then seed shape, as well as the height of the plant. So all these characters you just tell them so that they will be understanding it much better. Even though they learn this only at the class 12 level, we can give something extra for better understanding of the concept. So I always do it. And they explain about emasculation. If he has to do the self pollination, what he has to do? He has to cut the anther and remove it. And you make it fun. It should be funny also. Say them he has no other job. He went cutted all the anthers in all the flowers manually. He don't have anything special. No robo will go and do. So he has done everything on his own. So you just make it funny, just saying he has no other job. So he was just doing all these things. So they will also enjoy the session. So all this comes to their mind when we say, no, he went and cutted all the anthers that is present before the self-pollination. So in order to prevent the self-pollination, for the cross-pollination to happen, he cutted all this anthers, emasculation has been done and bagging has been done. If you explain that with some funny notes, they will also enjoy the class as well as they will understand the concept. So that is very important about the Mendels contribution. So that is where you can hold the students' attention. Mendels contribution, if you just tell it as a story, then they will feel it very interested and they will show interest. And that's the right moment where you can introduce the monohybrid and the dihybrid cross. So when we talk about monohybrid, you can just relate as like how I have shown one family with a father, mother, and a son. Similarly, he has done with the height of the plant, the tall and the dwarfness. And you can also talk about the dihybrid cross. So when we are going for monohybrid and dihybrid cross, you always go from empirical to rational knowledge, which means empirical means what they already experience and what they already know. Say, for example, when it comes to dihybrid cross, monohybrid cross, we know tall and the short. In F1 generation, everything is tall. And in F2 generation, again, we can see tall and the dwarf both expressed. So this is known to them. When we are introducing dihybrid cross, we'll be talking about all this. In F1 generation, again, the dominant genes will be expressed. But when it comes to F2 generation, the parental character expressed, apart from that, some new combinations also expressed. So, which is something new for them. Okay. So, always go from empirical knowledge to the rational knowledge. Something what they know, experience. Okay. They know about the monohybrid cross. So, from the monohybrid cross, you extend the dihybrid cross. And very important features, in our textbook, we don't have a law of dominance, law of segregation, and law of independent assortment. That is not clearly given in a textbook. When you are explaining, you have to explain. Monohybrid cross, why he has done monohybrid cross? First, his motive is just to know how this, what to say, how the sun is tall. Why not, if both are short, why the son is tall? Or parent is tall, mother is short, and the son again tall. Why? So he just wanted to find out the factor which is responsible for it. That's how he started the experiment. Now he came to a conclusion, there is some factor which is called dominant and the recessive gene. So he discussed about dominant and the recessive gene. But when it comes to dihybrid cross, he wanted to know how that is again able to express in the F2 generation. So he extended his experiment. So like this, you explain them and you make it give them more clarity why he has done the monohybrid cross. Don't simply teach them this is monohybrid, this is dihybrid. If you are taking one triad, it is monohybrid. If you are taking 2 triad, it is dihybrid cross. Please don't do that. So that is where you are making your students more convenient. And they will also feel very comfortable if you teach them in this way. Tell them why he has done this monohybrid cross, why he just how he proposed the law of dominance, and how he came across this law of segregation and independent assortment in his dihybrid cross. So explain with the examples and work out the cross on the board step by step so that they will understand it better, and it will also strengthen their synaptic connections. So it will be there in their memory for long time. Okay, teachers. And when it comes to heredity lesson, we don't have perfect definition of certain terms. Like we don't have perfect definition of gene, allele. So he has not talked about alleles in our textbook. But why we are representing capital T, capital T? Unless you tell what is allele, they won't understand. Why we are writing in a pair? So tell them what is allele, what are alleles. Tell them what is homozygous and heterozygous condition, and make it very clear what is pure brain. So all these terms are very well explained in Khan's Academy video, and it's very good also. So you can go through as a resource material and you can just translate that in the class. So in that, it is clearly given why do we call it as purebred? When do we call it as a purebred? So all these examples are nicely given in that video, teacher. So if you want, you just go through all that. So make it more clear to the children about the terms, okay, and all the three laws. If they are comfortable in that, and if they know the cross, then they can easily do all the numericals, problems of the heredity lesson. So give them more comfort in these concepts, so that the numerical also becomes very, very easy. So this is all about heredity lesson. So when it comes to control and coordination, again, it is like overloading of the concepts only, because they have learned very basic things in the lower classes. When it comes to control and coordination, again, it is a sudden jump to them. So usually I suggest to go with first the parts of brain. Usually in our textbook, it is given introduction, okay, and then it goes for the nervous system, reflex arc, and then the brain. Okay, this is the order that is given in the NCERT. But it's better to go with the brain. You just tell them what is central nervous system, peripheral nervous system. Again, Khan's video is best for this parts of brain and its function. And in our textbook, again, brain, nothing much is given. Everything is given as like one word, but for that one word, you have to explain them for just 10 to 15 minutes. They don't know what is central nervous system, just one line is given. So make it more clear to them what is central nervous system, peripheral nervous system, what is hypothalamus, forebrain, hindbrain, all these concepts you have to take some extra time, teachers. So obviously we know that we need to finish the portion, all that is okay, but unless they understand this, they can't understand the remaining part like nervous system and reflex arc. So better is to go with the, yes, ma'am.
Is it essential for them to take the structure and function of each and every part of brain?
Not in detail, ma'am. Not in
just
detail.
Overall.
Just overall, they should know. Like
okay.
These are the parts are there, and these are the areas it will do these functions. So these parts, these areas, coordination is very important. Like that, the basic idea we have to have, because that is not clearly given in our textbook. Okay, ma'am. So in the NCERT textbook, the brain is not clearly. Yes, ma'am. They will not see for the exam point of view, they won't test all these things. But for the better understanding of the concept, we need to go
what I'm asking.
Extra. If otherwise, yes, ma'am. For example, you just make them very clear. It won't be tested. But if they want to address the other concepts, it has to be very clear. Yes, ma'am. Then when we talk about the nervous system, again, we have, yes, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am. Nervous system, we have receptors. They are not aware of receptors so far. They have not come across the term receptors. First, you tell them what are receptors, ligands. Give them some small examples. And then go for the types of olfactory receptors, gustatory receptors. Just tell them first what is receptors. Even in our textbook, we don't have that. But they should understand what is receptor, what is ligand. It is like lock and key. When it comes and binds, this is what happens. So that will help them to understand this chemical signaling also. When the chemical signaling goes from one neuron to the other neuron in the synapses, this ligands, this chemical will come and sit on the receptor. So if you teach what is receptor, then that part also becomes very easy. They will understand very easily how the stimulus is being transmitted from one neuron to the other neuron. So that part you have to touch. And then reflex arc. You just make them to realize, why do we really need reflex arc? First, you talk about that and then go for the path, how it goes. just make them to realize why reflex arc is important. Say, for example, if I'm just touching my hot pan, if my receptor has to receive it, my muscle has to send message to the brain, and the brain again has to do all these things. It takes some time. So in the meantime, my hand will burn. So that is a quick response what we are having. That shortcut method is the reflex arc. Just give them some examples and make them to realize, okay, if this is not there, if everything has to process through my brain and my brain has to give the signal again, so what will happen? So it is not an immediate reaction. So it will cause some harm. So we have some shortcut method. That is what the reflex are. So explain them and make them to understand. And when we talk about hydrotrophism in the plants, for hydrotrophism, again, we don't have a proper image that is given in our textbook. But usually in board exam, they used to ask that question. So you provide that hydrotrophism, that experiment in the net. It's readily available in many reference or Pradeep guide or in other textbook, other resource materials. We have that answer. So hydrotrophism, you just take some extra effort and give them that answer because it is being tested in the board also. For board exam, they used to ask hydrotrophism, but it is not clearly given. That experiment is not clearly given in our textbook, but we are supposed to give them the answer. So kindly give that answers to them. And remaining and all hormones and all, you'll be able to do it because they are learning in their lower classes also. So these are the areas where they have not come across so far. So these are the areas where we have to handle it with care. Okay, teachers? Am I clear? Any queries you have? Because
No,
this
ma'am,
is the
it's
most
clear, ma'am.
important part. This is the most important part, and you are also in need of, as you have requested. Am I clear? Anything
Yes,
you want
ma'am.
to just have?
It's clear, ma'am.
Yeah, okay. So fine. So now we are almost towards the end of the session. So this is what. So I have one small game. Shall we do it?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So this, I think, again, yesterday itself we covered how can we make teaching learning process interesting. So we can have lots of games. So which we used to already do it. So we used to do quiz, role play. You can also use this snake and ladder games if time permits, because I know that for class 9 that is okay, but class 10 we need more time for revision. If possible, if you want to make your session more interactive, or if you feel like continuous theory class made them felt bored, so you can include some kind of these Ludo games or some kind of ladder, snakes and ladder games, where you can use human digestive system or respiratory system. So they will enjoy doing it. So, and you can also, we usually do role play methods, and we have virtual science lab. This I would just want to share, teachers. So whenever it is not possible for you to take them to lab, have you tried OLab? Any one of you, have you tried OLab?
Yes, ma'am.
Have
Yes,
you
ma'am.
tried? Okay. Okay, ma'am.
Right.
So it's a really amazing thing. So whenever the pandemic
Definitely. Yeah.
situation, so that time we couldn't take them to lab, no? So that time it helped a lot. So
In the
whenever it is
pandemic.
yes. So
Yes.
let us also keep in touch with that. So whenever it is not possible, let us just use it. And you can make some interactive word wall. So you can paste some charts and let them on the, let it be on the board. So whenever they go and come, they can see the images and that will register. And you can use some flashcards. You can conduct some games. You can ask them, ask them to sort it out, or it can be some matching games, classifying games, or you can just like true or false, you say, you can give some statement and you can ask them whether they agree the statement or disagree the statement, and they have to give the reason. So like that also we can conduct certain games whenever it is possible. So these certain things I just want to share. So now let us play this game, bingo. Do you know bingo game? I think most of us would have known. Yes, ma'am. Bingo game. Have you ever played? Is there anyone who already played? You know what is bingo?
With the numbers we have played,
With
ma'am.
numbers.
1 to 25
With
numbers.
numbers. Yes.
Mhm.
1 to 25 numbers. We used to play the same bingo. We are going to implement that in our science subject. So how can we do it, children? Usually we used to keep slip tests using like fill in the blanks, MCQ, all these things. So in order to test the concept along with kind of game, I just framed this activity. So if you want, you can just use it in your class also. So let us play this game. So you make 5 by 5 columns. So this is one example I'm showing. I'm not going to do the same. So this is one example. Okay. So you can make, roughly you make it, teachers. So 5 by 5 table you make it. Center should be free area. You should not do anything. It is a free space. And the remaining space, I have some set of words. I will be showing in the next slide so that you can fill it. So in whatever way you want to fill. So each one will fill it in different way, right? Yes. Each one will fill it in different way. Then only you can win the game. So it's
Yes.
unique.
Okay.
So you can do it. So make 5 by 4 table first. Once you are ready, please let me know. I will show the words which you need to write it on the table column. Don't copy this. Don't copy this. This is just for an idea. So just make 5 by 5.
Sai vena amma kulurudhu.
5 by 5 table. Once you have done, please let me know and write bingo on top of the table. So don't worry, physics and chemistry teachers, even though you are physics and chemistry teachers, I will be giving question as well as I'll be giving you the answer. Don't worry. So it's just like how you are going to fill it in the box. That's the trick. Who is going to win the bingo? So the rule, you know, right? So once you have completed, strike out either these 5 or these 5 words, then you can strike out one letter. Am I clear, teachers? Either one row or one column. If you have got the answers, then you can strike out the letters. I'm not going to wait until 5 letters are been crossed. Let us keep only 3 because we have very less time. So if you have crossed BIN, bin, then you are the winner. Yes, teacher? So let us see who is going to cross out the first 3 letters of the bingo. So once you have made the table, please let me know.
Table drawn, ma'am.
Drawn, others? Okay. So whoever has completed the table, so now you
Yes,
need
ma'am.
to leave the center. Yeah, you need to leave the center
Center
cell
one.
as a free space. So leaving this, remaining all places you have to fill it. Okay.
Along with the 5 letter, ma'am. Using 5
Which
letter, we
5
have to
letter?
fill all the.
No. So this have you written bingo? Have you written on top of the table?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Now I'll be, as like these terms, I'll be showing you some list of terms that you need to fill it. Leaving this as space, anywhere, wherever you want to fill the term, you can fill it. So these are the terms. You can quickly write all these terms in the table. Shortcut also you can write if you know it. So all these terms, you need to fix it in remaining 24 cells.
Whatever we can choose.
All these words have to be there. All these words, whichever is displayed here, has to be filled in all the 24 cells. But the arrangement can be anyway. I can write one in one corner. The second chloroplast can be written on the next corner. So it's up to me. So that is the trick. That's where you can win. So I will be displaying the question, okay, as well as the answer, because I know some physics and chemistry teachers are there. So wherever that answer you have written in the box, you can strike it out. Okay, my teacher? Okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So the first question here, the process by which nitrogenous waste products are removed artificially from the blood is known as hemodialysis. So where you have the word, yes, where you have the word
Yes, ma'am.
hemodialysis, you can strike out. So this is, as
Okay, ma'am.
many physics and chemistry teachers are there, I'm just revealing the answers. For the students, you can just ask the question, not the answer.
Okay, ma'am.
Yeah. Next question. Basic functional unit of kidneys are called
Nephron.
nephron. So where you have nephron, you can strike it out now.
Yes, ma'am.
Separation and elimination of the metabolic nitrogenous bases from the body is called
Excretion.
excretion. Yes, excretion. In human beings, a pair of kidneys is located in dash cavity.
Abdominal
Yes.
cavity, ma'am.
Abdominal cavity. Yes. Suppose if anyone is completing a bin, I mean BIN, please stop me, okay?
Ma'am,
Yes. What, ma'am? Saranya, ma'am.
completed, ma'am, already.
Completed bin.
Yes, yes, ma'am.
But I have said only 4. How can bin you can strike out? Only 4 I have said. So either one column or one row you would have completed.
One row,
How
ma'am.
come
One
fully?
row, ma'am.
Not
Not fully,
row.
ma'am. One row, ma'am.
So once you completed one row,
Ah.
once you completed one row, now you strike out the word letter B. So like
B,
that,
okay,
if
ma'am.
you have completed BIN, you stop me. Okay.
Okay, okay, ma'am.
So now we got a clue. Saranya ma'am is in leading. Okay. Yeah. Movements which are not directly seen with the naked eyes are movements. Dash movements. So molecular movements.
Molecular movements.
So wherever you have molecular, yes, molecular movement. Correct. You are right, ma'am. Okay. Next question. Shall I proceed with next question?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Next question. Some of all biochemical reactions are known as dash reactions.
Metabolic
Yes, metabolic reaction. So next, green plants are dash in their mode of nutrition.
autotrophic.
Autotrophic. Yes, autotrophic. Next, the green plastics which help to perform photosynthesis are called dash. Chloroplast. Chloroplast. Next question. Doctors measure blood pressure with the instrument called
Manometer.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Manometer. Yes, ma'am.
I don't know whether I'm right or wrong. In the
3 rows
second
or 3
row,
columns?
in the second row, completely all the 5 boxes I have crossed out.
Okay.
I-
No, like that you have to cross 2 more. Either 2 column or 2 more rows.
Okay,
So now
okay.
you completed 1 row, no? So you can strike out 1 letter bin, B you can strike out.
Okay.
Okay, yes, ma'am. So next, the gas which turns lime water milky. Carbon dioxide.
Carbon dioxide.
Carbon dioxide. When we do that respiration activity, when we exhale carbon dioxide, the lime water turns milky because of calcium carbonate that is formed.
Ma'am, option la carbon dioxide.
கிடையாது.
Not given the option.
இல்லையா?
Is no carbon dioxide is there, ma'am.
Oxygen
Okay,
ரெண்டு
fine.
முறை repeat ஆயிருந்தது ma'am.
Okay, fine. I think I have some other questions also. பார்க்கலாம். அப்படி இல்லைன்னா oxygen இருந்தா I will ask one more question.
சரி.
Okay. Yes. The loss of water in the form of vapors from the leaf to the atmosphere is called
Transpiration.
transpiration.
Ma'am,
Yes, ma'am.
I have completed row number 4, ma'am. But
Okay.
instead of that, if we have given the option for oxygen means I will be striking G, ma'am.
Okay, fine. Super.
Possible.
So, okay.
Thank you.
Okay. That question, this oxygen I will frame right. Okay. Okay, I will just make it very simple. When we are breathing in, we intake dash gas.
Okay. Done, ma'am.
Okay. So Saranya ma'am, yeah, you try whether you can also finish full.
Yes, yes,
work.
yes, ma'am.
Yeah, we just keep on moving. Next question. G also, very good. HCl is secreted in dash.
Stomach.
Stomach. Next, photosynthesis occur in which organelle of the cell?
Chloroplast.
Chloroplast. Already chloroplast we had one question.
Already we have taken, ma'am. Yes.
Yeah, that is green plastic.
Ma'am,
Okay.
last row has also been occupied, ma'am. Up to bin.
Okay.
B-I-N. Oh, ma'am.
B and G over. Bingo itself over.
No, ma'am. Bin. Up to bin, ma'am. Because
Bin
each
over,
row is
okay.
different, ma'am. 3, 4 or
Okay.
sometimes
As of
5.
now, I think Saranya ma'am is leading. I think how many of you have like the 2 letters? B and I. First 2 letters. How many of you done?
Myself.
Okay, super. So we have some more questions. Let us try all that.
BIN. I have
we'll see.
completed
Okay.
BIN, ma'am.
BAN. Super, ma'am. Okay, super. Yes. So let us proceed. Yes. For the oxidation of glucose, dash is necessary in respiration. Oxygen.
Yes, ma'am.
Next, the pumping device in the transport system is
Heart.
heart. Okay.
Okay.
Yes. Next, in lungs, gaseous exchange takes place in
Alveoli.
Alveoli.
alveoli. Yes. Next, the blood vessel that brings oxygenated blood to heart.
Pulmonary vein.
Pulmonary vein.
Ma'am, one row fully
Ma'am, I have
occupied,
finished, ma'am.
Number I.
Super,
Finished,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Super.
I have
So who
completed, ma'am.
Bingo completed, Saraswati ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Super, ma'am. Super. So I think Saraswati ma'am actually she
I
was
also
silently
completed.
listening. Super, ma'am. So whoever completed in the chat, you type bingo and send me, ma'am. So
Yes,
this
ma'am.
is not like telling the winners or losers. This is just to test the subject knowledge, and children will also enjoy when we are involving them in these kind of activities. They know bingo. They would have played this. So when we are doing this, definitely you will be winning the hearts of the students when you are doing this kind of activities in the classroom. So it is a 2-in-1, right? So children will also be very happy, and we will also be very happy that we have tested whether the children has understood the concept or not. So this
Yes,
is a
ma'am.
very nice game which helps a lot. So just I want to share with you all. So that's why I just made you also to play. Thank you so much for participating very actively, teachers.